Beer. Some would say humanity's best friend. A beverage most enjoy after a hard day at work or for socialising at the local public house. But I wanted to go beyond the beer in the pint glass and find out more about the passion and hard work that goes into producing a high-quality local Ghost Brew. Gladfield is a fifth-generation family farm that has been producing malts for beers for over 12 years. We spoke to Gabby about the malting process.
Most of our malts is made with barley. We do have a wheat and rye malt, but it's all malt grown here in Canterbury. Basically what we're doing, we're just replicating what the barley does in the soil. We're germinating there to activate the enzymes, and these enzymes are going to break the sugars and what the yeast is going to feed off to produce the alcohol that we desire in a beer, and then so also the flavours as well. The malt's probably one of the most important part of the brewing process, and we're proud to be producing good quality for our clients to make good quality beer.
Yeah, so Ghost Breweries have come to you guys and said, hey, this is what we want. How do you guys sort of tailor to their needs?
The reason why we could turn into good malt is because we've been growing malt in barley for generations. Doug's the fifth generation barley grower, and people mistakenly think that we have the fifth generation maltings, but we actually been growing barley for 5 generations. Doug is the first generation that decided, hey, I don't want to sell these, I just want to process that myself. And he was, I was in the right place in the right time for us as well. As in our marriage, we just got married and wanted to do something different, and yeah, that's how Gladfield started.
Once the malt is bagged, it makes its way to Christchurch. The next part of the journey starts with Nigel.
It goes through a boiling process of about 90 minutes again, and then it's transferred via a heat exchanger to take the wort, which is what the product is called at this stage. It takes that from boiling down to around about 20 degrees, and then we park it in one of these big tall vessels here, which is the fermenter, and add the yeast, and that's when the process really starts of making beer. The yeast eats up all the sugars that we've extracted from the grain, and the byproduct of that is, of its digestion, is the alcohol and the CO2 that you get in the beer.
The beauty of Ghost is that you sort of have no wastage as well.
What we do is there's a what's called the spent grain in the mash tun at the end of the brew. So that's all the husks that we've extracted most of the sugar from, and the endosperm and the rest of the barley. So we've got to get that off the premises, and it is a completely organic material. And generally what brewers do is try and find a farmer that will be able to utilise it as a stock feed. Because there's still plenty of protein and fibre and energy.
Start to finish, how long does that sort of process all take? Is it different for different beers? Or?
Well, it is different, yeah, different beers. The fastest beers to make are the ales. They are fermented at a warmer temperature with a different sort of yeast, usually around in sort of the 20 to 24 degree mark, and that can be fully fermented in about maybe 5-6 days, and then the conditioning process, which is where we chill the beer down, and that drops all the proteins and the haze and the hot particles out of the beer. That can take about another maybe 2 to 3 weeks. So I guess for an ale you're looking at around about a month to produce. A lager takes a bit longer actually. The lager is fermented at a lower temperature with a different strain of yeast, around about sort of 10 to 12 degrees, and that can take up to about 2 or 3 weeks to ferment, and then a lot longer in conditioning, maybe even up to 3 months in conditioning. I'm really quite proud and happy with the Delicious Pale Ale, which was sort of the flagship beer for Ghost. I feel really privileged to be in a situation where we can source the bulk of our ingredients really locally. they're all grown in Canterbury. It's supporting the local economy. I open up a bag of grain and it's just so fresh and vibrant, and that's all down to the good work done by Doug and Gabby and Caleb out at Gladfield. It goes into pretty much all our beer goes into kegs and straight to the bar, so there's no packaging. So we're very, very low waste company. Everything's happening locally. It's all, so it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm stoked to be a part of it.
Once Nigel was finished with the malt, an Oxford farmer who goes by the name of Trev feeds his cattle the leftover brew, and he reckons they absolutely love it.
It's still got a lot of nutrition value in it, and they do so well. They come through winter great, even though they get less baleage and that, and supplement this. It's it's really, really good for them, and they really love it.
Yeah, they're definitely hoeing into it. Do they have a particular favourite brew?
Believe it or not, yes, they do. Yeah, the more stoutish brews, the malt more malty. They seem to love that more.
And you mentioned off camera they're quite good for fattening up the stock because you've got lighter soils here.
Yes, it finishes them very well. So yeah, and when it goes dry, that's really good.
At the end of the day, it's time to enjoy all the hard work and relax with a cold one in your hand. So Mars, we're at the business end.
Yep.
Is this where it all happens?
Well, for the customer it does, yeah, totally. It's definitely our shop window for Ghost. We're pretty lucky to have the supply contract for the ducks, so yeah, it's certainly the best place to try our entire range because it's definitely here. So yeah.
So how did Ghost Brewery all start? How did that all come about?
Well, I was running a little music production company called Delicious Music, and we were running lots of gigs down at Ducks Live, and Julian asked me did I want to do a collab beer. They were working with lots of promoters at the time and doing beers like that, and that was our first foray. So we made a Delicious Music, we made a Delicious Pale Ale, and got lots of really, really good feedback and sold really well, and it's sort of like, wow, that's a bit easier than selling music. So that sort of really kicked it all off. Julian and I were at a party a couple of months later, and we were just discussing how well it went and sort of should we get his old family business back up and running, and we sort of went, hell yeah. Woke up the next morning, was still a good idea, and yeah, rest is history really. Yeah. Here we are.
And how important has the Ducks sort of been with collaborating with your business and stuff?
Oh, essential. Essentially, we wouldn't be here without the Ducks. That was kicked it all off. That's our platform client really. This is where we kick off all our ideas and try new ideas, and we don't have a bar ourselves at the moment, so it's a great place for people to come check it out and try our beers and hang out with the ghosts.
Yeah. And how important is it for you and the business to sort of use local ingredients and sort of have zero footprint?
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important. One, your ingredients aren't travelling as far. The Gladfield malt's like world class, so it's awesome to have those guys just down the road. I mean, the only ingredient that comes from a long, long way away is the hops in our American beers. Obviously coming all the way from America. So apart from those beers, it's everything's New Zealand hops, New Zealand malt, obviously New Zealand water, and made by Kiwis for Kiwis.
Is there any sort of favourite beers that you enjoy yourself or customers love?
Delicious Pale Ale is still our #1 seller. It's certainly my favourite beer. It's I love going to places and drinking my own beer. It's kind of a nice ego brush, eh? It's cool.